if you missed anything, or if you want to share this with a friend, you have the ability to refer that out to people. And so Deepak and I met several months ago, and we both have a passion for training and personal development. He's in India, and I'm over here on the West Coast. It's really cool how we can help build a global family and a global community. And that's our vision. Speaking of vision, our 12-week year goal by really the first part of January or end of January is to be able to have at least 25 people a part of this community every single week, same time, same line. And how do we get there? Well, the step 2 that I'm talking about today, after you have a clear vision, and we're always going to keep coming back to your vision. Are you writing it every day? Are you reviewing it every day? Did you create a vision board? Are you visualizing what you are going to manifest? Like my husband and I, we had a goal and a vision, a 3-year vision to move to California. And guess what? Happened almost exactly to the day. And we had a 12-week sprint from July 1st to October 1st. It was basically July 1st, we said, okay, we're going to be completely moved, our entire family, kids in school, in our new home in Southern California by October 1st. And guess what? It happened because we had a plan. You've probably heard this before. If you fail to plan, and when I talk about a plan, we're going to clarify that, but it's a written plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You've got to be able to execute. And so we're going to talk about that today. Deepak, can you share your screen? Share my information.
Yes.
Perfect. So we're going to dive right in. Again, take notes. This is, some of this is coming from actually a half-day workshop workbook that I give to my participants. So normally I charge $2,000 for this half-day workshop. You guys are getting just a snippet of that for free. So the purpose of a plan, of course, is to define what it will take you to get there. Already explained, the vision is your fuel. It's your what? It's your why. And what's different with 12-week planning, and why are we focused on 12 weeks instead of a year? Well, a year is annualized thinking. It's like a marathon. A marathon has less predictability. I've coached thousands of runners. I've done 5Ks. I've done Ironman, triathlons, doing all sorts of different competitions in my life. And I got to tell you, a 5K is a heck of a lot easier to plan for and to train for than a marathon. And so when you look at the 12-week year, even though it's just 12 weeks, it's not a full 52 like Deepak said, there's a greater predictability. When I ran a 5K, and let's say I set a goal to run it in under 18 minutes, there was a lot more predictability that would happen with excellence because it was much shorter. It was easier. There was actually more efficiency in the training. It took less time. It took great focus, but there was greater predictability when you only have to focus on 12 weeks as opposed to a year. So I want you to think about a 12-week is like a 5K or a sprint. A year is more like a marathon. And trust me, I myself ran over 8 marathons, and no one marathon was like the other, because there's so many ways that unpredictable things could happen to sabotage, to come into play. There's a lot more work involved. So do you want to run a 5K or do you want to run a marathon? And I would say I'd rather run 4 5Ks than 1 marathon any day, because there's greater predictability. So again, what's the difference? Number 1 is greater predictability. Number 2, already alluded to this, it's more focused. You get things done when you're focused, when you have clear vision. Focus actually is an acronym. Follow one course until successful. You could even write that by number 2. Follow one course until successful. We're going to break that down. We want you to set 2 goals today. We asked you to start thinking about that last week. But when you just focus on 1 or 2 things, do you think you're going to do better than if you focus on 20? If you focus on 10? The answer is without question, beyond a shadow of a doubt, absolutely. You've got to focus. I know too many entrepreneurs that they're really excited. They're love to have their own business, be their own boss, but they're focusing on way too many things. So number 2 is 12-week planning is more focused. Last, number 3 is just the structure. It's how it's written. We're going to bring some structure to you today. We're going to bring some structure to this 12-week plan. We're going to ask you to set 2 goals based upon your vision. 2 goals that you want to accomplish in the next 12 weeks, whether that gets you to the end of January, whether that gets you to the middle of February. Oh, by the way, did you know there's only 47 days left in the year? As of today, there's only 47 days left in the decade. That's right. 2019 is the last year of this decade. 47 days. What are you going to do with them? So maybe you even just want to do a 47-day goal. I'm cool with that. Otherwise, if you do a 12-week plan, you're going to be going into, I believe, mid-February, if I'm not mistaken. So ultimately, it's how it's structured. And keep in mind, we want you to focus on, a 3-year vision. Like I shared with you, my husband and I wanted to move to California. So maybe you wrote a 3-year vision. Maybe you wrote a 1-year vision. What are you going to accomplish by November 2020? Well, let's take a chunk out of that. Let's take a bite out of that. And if you haven't done that, if you haven't written your vision for 2020 yet, I'm going to invite you to stay with us every week. And I also have another event I'm going to invite you to personally on December 5th. That could be of value to in helping you write your plan. So go ahead and scroll down, Deepak. So this just here is a visual. I already started talking about this. Keep going a little bit. There you go. So this is the structure that was step number 3. How is it written? You have your 12-week goals. It links to your vision. We're going to talk about tactics. That's actually your actions. That's what you want to accomplish. And then it also shows you here, when are those tactics going to be accomplished? Are you going to do them every week? Are you going to do them maybe 6 weeks? Like when I was training for my marathon, there was all sorts of different activities and actions called tactics that I had to get accomplished. And they weren't done every week. Sometimes they were done every other week. Sometimes they didn't happen until week 10. So that's what the structure looks like. Let's go ahead and go on to the next page, please, Deepak. And this is where you guys get to do a little work. I want you to think about, what are your 2 goals? On page number 4, it's going to talk about your goals. So keep in mind, you don't just want to write, like, for example, we wrote a specific date and a deadline of when we wanted to move to California. We said on or before October 1st, our whole family would be here. And that's very specific. If you're looking to lose weight, for example, that's an easy one. Or maybe let's talk about a financial goal. Maybe you want to make $10,000 in 12 weeks. So you would say, I am making $10,000, or I will create $10,000, or I am so happy and grateful I have $10,000 in my bank on or before December 31st or February 14th. Today is November 14th. So the 12-week year would roughly end on February 14th, so Valentine's Day. So you want to make sure you have it in a positive affirmation. There it says, rather than say quit smoking, you would become a non-smoker. Setting intentions and goals and outcomes is becoming, not necessarily a doing thing. So of course you want it to be a realistic stretch. You don't want it to be way too pie in the sky, way too crazy, because then you might defeat yourself and quit. And then of course, individual accountability. You want to be able to have someone maybe that you can reach out to. If it's me or Deepak, that would be great too. So go ahead and scroll down. I want you guys to write. We're just going to do one goal today because we don't have a lot of time. So for the 12-week year, or if you just want to end at the end of 2019, that's fine. So go ahead and put in a date. If you want to put more than one goal, that's fine. We only have time though to really mind map the one goal. Again, remember, focus is the important thing. And you could do one business goal and one personal. So My goal by the end of February 14 is to have 10 coaching clients. My personal goal is to shed 20 pounds and weigh roughly 155 pounds. And I'm not afraid to say that. Many women are afraid to talk about their weight. I have no problem. So you could do 1 or 2 goals. I'm going to give you a little bit of time here. Does anybody have any questions while I'm giving you some time to write down 1 or 2 goals? I could take 1 question. And I know some of you are already coaching with me, part of my iBoomerang sales team. So proud of you guys. Want to acknowledge you guys for being here today. Some of you have been through this exercise with me multiple times already. So just reconnect, recommit, maybe double check. Is your affirmation statement, like for example, I will or I weigh 155 pounds on or before February 14th. I have $10,000 in my bank account. Is it a positive affirmation statement? You could even say, I am so happy and grateful I have $10,000 in my bank account. Just make sure, double check, inspect what you expect of these goals. Review them daily, course correct as needed. So let's go ahead and go down, and for sake of time, just got a few more moments here and do the mind mapping exercise. So normally I would take a volunteer when I do this workshop in person. It's a lot easier to do with a volunteer, but I just want you to draw a circle on a piece of paper. Inside that circle, put one of your goals, or maybe you just wrote 1 goal. I'll use myself as an example. And I'll do a business goal because I know all of you are in business for yourself. So my goal is to have 10 coaching clients on or before February 14th, 2014. Now that's a stretch for me because I have 3 businesses. I'm a mom. I have a lot going on. However, if I focus through this mind mapping exercise, what will it take for me to get there? I could write down things like have 10 phone call conversations every day asking for referrals. Basically letting people know, hey, I'm launching this new coaching business. I'm looking forward to doing free coaching sessions. Who do you know that would like a free 30-minute coaching session? So I could have a certain number of calls every day. I can have a certain number of times where I ask for referrals. I can have a certain number of times I want to go to networking events or a certain amount of networking events. I can also, volunteer to do speaking engagements. I could ask and set a goal for how many speaking engagements that I want to do each week. How many webinars do I want to do each week? How many new people am I meeting each week that I could ask them? How many people am I talking to on LinkedIn? How many people am I talking to on Facebook? So those are just some examples. You just write from a stream of consciousness, and I invite you to continue to do this exercise after we get off of here. But it's just a flow, and you draw arrows, you draw other circles that extend from that original circle with your goal written in that positive affirmation statement. This allows the brain to be using different sides of the brain, and you don't type this, you actually write it. There's a value in using that left brain. And you could even do this with an accountability partner. Give it to me, give it to Deepak, and say, here's my mind map. Mind map. What am I missing? And this you could do once a week just to really check in and make sure you're staying in that flow and that focus on that one thing, that one goal. Let's go ahead and next slide. And this will be the final slide today. Again, Deepak and I are committed to keeping this short and sweet, and then opening up for Q&A and being done at the bottom of the hour, or in our case, at it's 9:30 Mountain, 10:30 Central. So you have that mind map completed, right? And you see this, a tactic is defined as, this is the 12-week years way of saying, you know, what are your actions? What are those activities? Remember, I said having so many meetings, having so many phone calls, reaching out to so many people on LinkedIn, reaching out to so many people on Facebook, attending so many networking events. And again, these are all actions. So they usually start with a verb, like I would say, ask for 10 referrals every week, or attend 3 networking events, or send messages to 5 people a day on LinkedIn offering up free coaching sessions. So a tactic is defined as an action. It's an action or activity, and it's got to use some kind of verb or action word showing that this is what you're going to do. Because remember, we talked about your vision is your being, your joy, where you're coming from, your why. The activity and the action is also known as execution. And that's where most entrepreneurs and salespeople fall short. They don't do the deal. They don't follow through, and it takes action. So go ahead, scroll down. Deepak, this is the last part here. Make sure, even though you don't have this worksheet, you don't need it. You just use your journal, use your notebook, whatever, to ultimately, actually scroll up a little bit there, Deepak. I wanted to read those words because those words are powerful. To ultimately live my vision for the period ending, again, whether it's December 31st, whether it's February 14th, whether it's a different date because you've been working with us here every Thursday. Doesn't matter what the date is. To ultimately live my vision. That's powerful. This isn't just on or before December 31st, I will blank. This is to ultimately live my vision. They say that most people, they actually die at age 25 and they're buried at 75 because they didn't live their vision. They didn't have these tools, or they didn't have a coach. They didn't have accountability, and they allowed everything to just happen to them and not be empowered to live their lives. So we want you to live your lives and be empowered. So again, this is where you would write down your goal or goals in that positive, measurable, affirmative statement. And then now you can scroll down a little bit, Deepak, where it says goal number 1, tactics. This is where you can write down tactic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I wouldn't have more than maybe 8 tactics. And then they can be daily, weekly, once a month, whatever the case may be. I know for my booking sales, and here you have daily and weekly tactics. We talked about how many presentations, how many phone calls, how many days a week are you going to work? Is it 5 days? Is it 4? How many hours? You know, you can even put that down there too, just reminding yourself of your time block. We're going to talk about time use on another call, but really getting clear on these tactics and even days or what weeks they're going to be accomplished. So that's my training. I went a couple minutes over, but I do believe that